Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with the CEO of Hemlane. Dana, how you doing, Dana?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What people may not realize is you're doing this from Africa today. This is something you do every summer with the family. I believe your husband is from there. Do I remember that correctly?
Yep, he's from Nairobi, Kenya, and then we spend the summers here in Mombasa. So it's their winter, which is still warmer than San Francisco's summer.
The coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. It can get cold, that's for sure. So
Absolutely.
very cool. Well, hey, I know it's a little late your time. I think it's early evening, probably dinner time. So let's just jump into it. You ready?
I'm ready.
So the topic we're going to talk about today is really for self-managers and really how Hemlane has been designed over the years to really help full service, right? Somebody wants to just a kind of full service on the platform, maybe hybrid or some of the do-it-yourself folks. So you're the CEO. I'll let you take any of those three and we'll just dive into how Hemlane helps that type of landlord.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a lot of folks, just to preface and back up a little bit here. I have a lot of real estate investors, so landlords, 1 to 50 rental units. Usually it's between 1 to 4
Mm-hmm.
when they're starting. And they come to us and they say, I'm trying to select property management. Is Hemlane right for me?
Right.
And it's hard to answer because it's really a personal choice of what property management you should choose and what you're looking for at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And people fall on different spectrums. So if you think about it, there's folks who need a full service property manager, basically someone to take the keys, do everything. They don't want to hear about their property ever. They don't want to be involved in any of the conversations with tenants. And that's really where they're not optimizing for their gross income.
No,
They're not.
I want to second that. So this is the category I find Olivia and I in, right where we are at in life. Um, but to that last point, we are certainly not optimized to maximize profit. Um,
Yep.
I'm certain that every month there are hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars across the portfolio that if we were doing our management, would not have been spent. On top of that,
Yep.
I'm spending, I don't know, 5 figures a month just on the property manager. So I'm paying for that full service.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it started for us because I didn't have a choice. I was in foreign countries and Olivia was raising our daughter and we just didn't have a choice. And but that said,
Yeah.
two of my best friends because of this channel, Dion and Matt, they self-managed and they wouldn't do it any other way. So yeah, I'm definitely not maximized for profit, that's for sure.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's why it really is a personal decision. If it helps you stay in real estate, purchase more properties and all of that, there's nothing to be said that that's necessarily a bad way to go.
Mm,
And that's why I say it's such a personal decision of where you want to go. And so
mhm,
that's really one side of it, a full service property management.
mhm.
And then there's the DIY. I've seen on that side folks who say, I want absolute full control. I want every conversation to go to me. I don't want anyone else in the property. I want to do the repairs. I want to pick up every tenant call, and that's the full
Mhm,
other side of the spectrum.
mhm.
And for them, they are maximizing their control. Now, are they optimizing for gross income? Probably not, because a lot of times when you do try to do everything yourself, you're not doing it well, or you have to think of where you spend your money or how much your time is worth. If you
Mhm.
think, hey, my time
Oh
is worth
yeah.
maybe $100 an hour, you doing everything yourself, it's going to cost you. You have to think about how much your time is worth. So there's nothing wrong with those, but that's what those folks are optimizing for.
Mhm,
Is the two extremes of saying I'm either optimizing to be completely hands off or to have that full control.
mhm.
Hemlane and how we step in there is in all ways trying to make sure you maximize your bottom line.
Right.
So your profits there of how do we get you there? Anything that other folks can do better than you, anything that technology can do better than you, we'll go ahead and build that in. And an example of that is, for example, when a tenant submits a repair request.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to ask for photos. We're going to troubleshoot. We're going to have even a chat bot go through and actually do that troubleshooting for you to make sure is that they can assess, is this an emergency? Could the tenant fix it without me driving out to the property to go ahead and take a look at it? And so going through and trying to optimize the property management for you is what Hemlane does. Now we have folks who are on two different extremes. We have some who just use software.
Yeah.
And they want to automate themselves out of certain things, but they also want much more control. And then we have folks who are closer to that full service who say, you know what? I want to be more hands off. I want someone to pick up those repair calls. I want someone to go and show my rental property. And so in all of those cases, we pick it up and help to optimize their bottom line by doing that and using technology as much as we can. Keeping in mind, if a tenant was talking to like a chat bot for repair coordination, that wouldn't go so well. They want a person, they want to know who's going out. You know, your handyman is going to want to talk to someone, really understand what's going on, what the problem is, what the prioritization is. And so still getting humans involved. But that is really kind of how we think about it in the industry. And you being in Silicon Valley, Michael, will appreciate this, you know, creating a new category in the industry, because before it was basically this all or none.
Yeah.
And for us, we wanted to provide a new option, something that was new where, you know, yeah, some people I recommend full service, some people it's DIY, but in a lot of cases saying Hemlane can help fit those needs and go close to the extremes, but never get there. If someone wants full service management, we just say, great, here are 5 property managers we know in the area, go and give them a call.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of things to talk about here. First and foremost, if I was starting today, Olivia and I would definitely pick kind of the Hemlane first option, where it would become our platform. Because the biggest thing for us those first 5 years was kind of audit trail. I mean, I can't tell you we were literally getting, I think it was actually faxes when we first started, of all things, of invoices and receipts. You know, back when we had 6, 7, 8 houses, we would have definitely preferred to go Hemlane route there. The second thing to talk about is Dion, right? Dion, congratulations on retiring here. He's actually joined Hemlane. He's trying it out. Because again, what I really think boils down to is, if you're going to manage local, a la Dion, it makes a lot of sense to just have that platform, because you're bringing more automation, right? Dion talks about being lazy. He's not that lazy. He's smart, right? He uses technology and tools. So I think that's going to be his platform. But I know there's people that go out of state, and out of state investing. You want to have that. It's almost like check the checker for me, right? Where you have those vendors and you have those others, just a collection of people that have done good work before. I think there's so much value in that you might be underselling. If somebody's watching this channel has out of state, building your network out of state's hard. And Hemlane, I think, can help facilitate with that. So talk about how you facilitate building a network out of state, because I don't think many people understand how hard that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, in building a team, you constantly have to change that team. So for example, for you, Michael, when you first started out, you probably had a much smaller property manager who could manage the number of doors you started with, like 4 to 10. But the moment that you start getting to 20, 30, now 100 plus, who your manager is, who your contractors are, suddenly changes quite a bit. And so we constantly do that as well. And their priorities change as well. You might have a fantastic handyman, but then he gets really booked on certain projects of yours. You need to bring someone else in. I think the biggest thing is having that relationship. So with contractors, what we have realized in building our network is there are a couple of things that are important to them. One, they actually like that we're a middleman who is basically trying to do what's best for everyone. There are owners who are like, I don't understand why it would cost that much or this or that. They like that we're that in between to really understand, hey, this actually seems pretty high based on like the parts and how much you're charging in labor. You know, why is that? Tell us a bit more. They like to have that middle person who actually has seen it and done it, to be able to be the person they talk to. They also really like that when they're on site, that they know as much as possible going on. The worst thing for them to do is go out there and have the wrong tools and then have to do a trip charge. The owner gets mad because they have to go back out. They really like that we're getting as much information as possible, doing the troubleshooting, letting them know. So by the time they're on site, they have a pretty good idea of what is the issue and how to fix it. So those are things that are important. The other thing I would say is honestly payment. They want to make sure if you're an out-of-state landlord and you are working with them, they want to make sure that this payment is going to go through because they're meeting with the tenant. They're not meeting with you. They don't want to put liens on properties because you haven't paid them, $100 for one of the repairs they're doing. And so they want to know that there's that middleman, us, who's going to say, yes, we have approval on this. It's approved. You're going to get paid right after confirmation from the tenant that this has been fixed. But in building that network, back to your question, there's a lot that starts with the relationship side of things. So when we typically start in a city, we start with the real estate agents that we know and build the network through them because they know us, they've worked with us on the leasing, and then they can say, here's our contractors, and tell these contractors, hey, this is just my property management arm. They're doing the property management, here you go. So that's the first one. And then the second one is by having contracts with folks who are trusted nationwide, such as Ace Handyman Services. Every Ace store, you might not know this, has a handyman branch. If you've ever been in an Ace store, they really focus on customer first. And they stand behind their brand with that. And so having their network and going through them, being able to work on pricing with them, to get better prices, things like that, but them to know we have that nationwide presence helps. So we do that. Eventually what happens is the service professionals in that area will know whoever the repair coordinator is for that city. So let's just say that you're in Jacksonville. It's usually the same coordinator, unless they're off, calling that handyman, that electrician, that plumber. And so you can start building that relationship of trust. There are service professionals who will say, I'm not going to work with property management, a third party, or I'm not going to work with you, Hemlane. And what it is they've probably had a terrible experience with another property manager. And that has basically had a negative impact of what they reflect in the industry. What we hope is that they always walk away saying, here's a really strong professional we're working with. And then there's some professionals who don't want to work with a Hemlane at all because they want to price gouge. They are fixing things and they don't want to be held accountable and all of that. And, you can figure that out and assess that pretty quickly because they know that the repair coordinator calling them is an expert in home maintenance and home repairs. And so they can basically be like, well, that doesn't really make sense what you're saying, and assess it. So it's typically the best service professionals like it because they're like, oh, someone who speaks my language, is someone who's like me. And we can build those relationships over time.
Yeah. Again, I mean, people need to, if you're thinking about or are investing out of state, you just got to go back and listen to that again. There are so many pieces that Hemlane could help smooth out because, again, you're supporting landlords across the country, thousands of them. You can qualify, you can check work, you can, you have Ace Hardware. There's just your weight allows you to certainly be stronger than, hey, I own one house in Jacksonville in this example. So folks, if you are thinking about out-of-state investing, I think you should take the trial, which Dana and Hemlane give you with this channel. And then if you're like Dion and you're managing in your backyard, you want to be a little lazy, I think efficient, but he calls himself lazy, and just have an online system, be that go-between and audit trail. Hemlane can really help. Dana, where can they find it?
Yeah, you can go to www.hemlane, HEMLANE.com, and just mention one rental at a time because you do get 20% off your first year. So make sure that you mention that you came from one rental at a time.
And if you're one of my students, you will see in the free bonus section that Dana went the extra mile for you and did a full breakdown of your 30-day trial, like do this day 1, do this day 2. If you have my free course, she actually has a PDF, which you can use to go through the trial. So again, practice. Seriously, folks, if you're thinking about out-of-state investing, play with the platform. You are stepping into a people business. Your network matters. Most of you don't have a network out of state. So let this be a way to help you. And then if you're like Dion and you're managing in your backyard, you can drive to all properties, have that interface, have that audit trail. Just make it a little bit easier, smoother, and yes, a little bit lazier. Dana, thank you so much. Enjoy your evening.
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
You got it.